Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of Zip Talks. Today's guest is Mr. Arzan Khambata. Arzan describes himself as an architect by profession and a sculptor by choice. His works are fondly christened sculptures, a word that has become synonymous with Arzan. His first show was in 1993 when he opened sculptures to the public at the Jahangir Art Gallery. His works are now found in corporate houses, hotels, and private collections around the world and range from 6 inches to 70 feet in height. The most prominent ones being the Dolphins at Worli and the Siet Rhino at Juhu Circle in Mumbai. Currently, 11 solo shows and over 100 group shows around the country and the globe. Arzan has also embarked on a venture that is close to his heart, namely photography. He just finished his first film titled Decibel, a wacky view on noise pollution in our city. A large part of his time he also spends with imparting his craft to children from all strata of society, be it the IB schools or the NGO children from slums and the streets of Mumbai. His favorite saying is, "The impossible just takes a little longer." Thank you so much for coming on the show, Arzan. I really appreciate you taking out your time for this. I wanted to start by asking you about your favorite saying, "The impossible just takes a little longer."
So basically, this is something which I heard somewhere. It was in a Dr. Alban song called Africa. And he was just keeping on mumbling this in the back while the whole score is going on. The impossible just takes a little longer. And in that African accent, I just couldn't understand what he was saying. And I tried to then sort of go into the detail and catch it. And then I heard this phrase and I fell in love with it because I always feel that in my line of work, whatever I do, whatever I try to do things which are not done before. That is the way I sort of motivate myself. And
Yes.
going from strength to strength to create something that I haven't done before. So, it's very positive for me. So the impossible just takes a little longer. Is like me pushing myself to do more. And I've done 2 sculptures with the same title so far.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that, but the saying is incredibly motivating and inspirational so that, you take up challenges that defy yourself and, go for them.
True.
Oh, so it's from a song. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, so now coming to the purpose of this talk, which is on fitness. Sculpture, I always feel is a physical form of art as well. So would you say that it's like a workout for you doing your work itself?
Totally. So, I mean, especially when I started, the first 11 years, I didn't have a single helper. Not a
Yes.
single, because it started as a hobby. And I was just out of school then. So, for me to go to the scrapyards, pick up the metal, select the metal from construction sites here and there and everything, and then sort of get into the studio, weld it, shift it. So, all that was so physical. I
Yes.
was physical then now. Of course, I've got helpers and all that, but still, picking up metal, placing it in various positions, trying how it can be welded, climbing up scaffoldings because sometimes I do larger works, sometimes I hang. From a scaffolding, So it's all a part of the art process. And like I keep on saying, the studio looks more like an industrial fabrication workshop than an artist. Kind of material I use is that way, and it requires that pressure. You cannot be sitting in an AC room very comfortably and only dealing with paints and stuff like that. You need to be out on the floor in the heat, in the dirt, where the welding machines are on, where the gas torch is on. So everything, just the atmosphere itself makes
Yes.
you cannot be sort of completely lax in a atmosphere like that. You need to be very aware. You need to be very about and on top of everything.
But it's great to have this profession which also has a physicality to it. Like you said, it's like an industry floor or a factory floor, your studio. And we will try to see if we can show our viewers a bit of your studio, a video or something maybe later on. But tell me, Arzan, we all are aware of your passion for bicycling. So how did you get into that? And
So
when do you find the time to bicycle is what I wanted to ask.
now, I'll answer that in 2 parts. Number one, finding time. Finding time for anything that you love is very easy. Keeping on doing what you're doing at work. sort of, I don't believe in this thing when people say I can't do this because I'm busy. There is nothing like that. You only have to find those little gaps and corners and do that. Secondly, I'm going backwards. I'm answering your first question first.
Yes.
So cycling basically started off with me when I was right from school. I used to love going on the bike because it gave me the freedom to go anywhere I wanted. And
Yes.
this, there were no cell phones. Your parents couldn't track you where you were once you were out of the house. I would go to Darukhana at that time. I would go to my tuitions. I would go to the race course in the morning only on cycle, and that freedom which I got. So,
Yes.
unfortunately, today the roads are not as safe and as, how you say, conducive for cycling. So I would love special lanes for cycling. Bombay would turn into such a beautiful city if there were designated cycle lanes. You've got no idea how many people want to get their cycles out and the traffic. You know? So it's like, I love this saying when someone's sitting in a car and saying, I'm stuck in traffic. You know, you're not stuck in traffic. You are the traffic. Get out and you're a part of the traffic itself. So I started cycling so much when I was young. My would give me, especially my mother would give me chores to do on the cycle. Get this from the bazaar, get that from here, from this from here. So I actually had a basket and a haversack with me where I would go happily around and collect all these things and come back and then go out. So the moment I came back from school, it's me and the cycle and we would be out. And then I would go for my tuitions, again go cycling somewhere, come back. So it was a phenomenal high for me to be free those two wheels, you know. But having said that, terrible at sports. I was not interested in any sports from the beginning. So I would never play cricket or football or anyone else. It was only my cycle and I would just go up, even if it means going alone, you know, that way.
But it's a great exercise, and I really like the point you said that when I said how do you find the time to bicycle, if you're passionate about something, you will take out the time. I think that point is so important for everyone. But when we spoke last, you also mentioned about how you've discovered yoga. And so I wanted to ask you, is there any specific form of yoga that you're doing? How has it changed your perspective towards your health and well-being when you started yoga?
I'm fascinated with anything which is new. Okay. So till yoga, I started in 98. Before that, I just knew yoga, and as any layman would know yoga, bending over this and that, various asanas and all that. Then I was taking a walk at Five Gardens once, and I asked someone, I said, what do you do besides walking and all that? So he mentioned someone called Zubin Zartostimane. Zubin Zartostimane currently, I as one of the, within the top 5 Ayurveda teachers in the world today. Right? Maybe top 3, but I'm just being a little conservative. Definitely one of the topmost teachers. And he said, why don't you attend one of his classes and see, you know? So this was in the Parsi colony. I just went and saw one class and I got totally hooked onto it. I was just seeing the first class, but it was not only doing, it's the way he explained. It's the way these little small nuances of just stretching out one little finger and how it would affect the rest of the body and all that. And I got so, fell in so love with what he taught. Yoga, but more in him teaching yoga, that it has been now 22 years I'm with him. 22 years with Zubin, and I attend all his yoga camps in Goa and Panchgani and all that. And I practice it sort of diligently, twice a week, definitely, more if possible. And sort of I integrate it with my little bit of stretching I do, a little bit of the walking I do and all that. And it's wonderful. It's a science and an art combined. Okay. And as a sculptor who loves figures, that gave me a new insight into how I could do my musculature to achieve a little more strength in my figures. Actually, so when I make my figure stretch out his hand, previously if it was like that, now I would go this way. You know, it's dynamic. So what he does, I collect, and then when I'm doing my own figures, all these small nuances come out. You know, what I do to my body, what he sees, what he shows us, and I incorporate that in my figures, in my sort of work patterns. You know, when I'm driving, I stretch. I know exactly how to stretch to leave the back. And 22 years with him has given me a lot of insight, and there's still more to learn. You know, there's still more to learn. And the details, it's absolutely the details as to what you twitch, where to correct what. You know, that is the.
Yes. No, I always feel that having a guru or someone who can guide you always helps you, and then you understand the form as well. But how has your routine changed over the lockdown? Because you wouldn't have been able to attend camps. And have you been able to bicycle, or is there something new that you've picked up during the lockdown?
So lots. In fact, there are some people, and there are two kinds of people I've met. Okay, there is one who only creeps, that they can't do anything, they're stuck at home.
Yes.
There is, I wanted to do that. Of course, I get into my moods. I'm not always very uppity and all that. I also used to get bored and all that. But I decided what I thought, that this is the time you're never going to get back. This sort of time, no one is going to give you, where they say just stay and do what the hell you want within the confines of your house, you know?
Yes.
So, cycling was out because that time the lockdown was very, now I go down to my podium and cycle and all that. But the lockdown was absolutely at its peak. The only thing I used to do was I just couldn't sit at home. At 2 o'clock, when there was no one on the podium, literally no one, and the sun is like bright, which I love. I don't like the rains. I like it when it's bright and hot. 4 o'clock, no one, I would take my 1 hour walk fast and come back. So
Okay.
that, luckily, I would practice my yoga also by myself. You know,
Yes.
yeah. So I would practice yoga twice a week. I've got weight, so I do a little bit of weight training. Nothing, I mean, not bulking up as such, but a little bit of training to sort of exercise muscles and all that. And I feel these two things combined together help me a lot. So it gives you a little strength. Yoga gives you a little insight into your good health and all that. And I continued. Then slowly, the yoga classes came online. Zubin came online. Now it's wonderful. He conducts classes twice for me. Also does classes with students from Mexico and Taiwan and Japan and all over the world. And whenever I have time, because it's in different time zones, if I join the link and I practice that as well, you know. So just anything to sort of keep active and make the mind feel active. And one more thing. So ages back in 2011, I picked up a unicycle for myself. I just couldn't get the hang of it. From 2011 till couple of months back, it was lying completely like that. I would try it at the studio. I made 2 bars at the studio, which were 12 feet long, and I would hold it and practice like a baby walking. Just couldn't get the hang of it, gave up.
Yes.
Lockdown happened. The lockdown happened after for a month. I didn't go out at all. You know, I was only down and up and all that. Then one day I decided, I completely masked up and gloved up, and I went to the studio and picked up everything that I wanted to get here so that I could be more occupied. You know, my sketchbooks, my pens, everything. And then I saw the unicycle. I said, I have to pick this up now. So I got it here, and I saw some YouTube videos and started practicing 1 hour every day in the basement. I didn't want people to see me. It looks very stupid, you know, someone trying to sort of learn a unicycle like that. So in the basement where no one could see it, I started practicing holding the wall as they'd shown in the YouTube video.
Yes.
And started exactly about, let's say, about 15 years back. And so first I got to about 3 pedals, fell down, 5 fell down. This is an hour a day of practice, and it's very vigorous. It's very vigorous. Because you just see clowns and people on it in a circus and all that, it sounds like ridiculous, but it is an absolute workout. Especially when you fall down, get up, fall down, get up, fall down. It's tremendously taxing. So finally, I come to a point now after so much practice that I can do all around my podium block, at least without falling. You know. So that day I did 1 kilometer without falling down, which was good. You know.
Oh, that's amazing. In fact, instead of showing a video of your studio, I'm going to show a video of you unicycling at the end of this interview. I have to see that. So can't let you go without talking about your sculptures. Tell me the word scraptures is so synonymous with you. Tell us a little bit about that. How did that come about?
When I started sculpting, I used to only use scrap metal because I used to love forms, the kind of shapes they had and all that. And so when I started doing that, for, like I said, for first 11 years, from 82 to 93, it was only scrap, only scrap. Then slowly I started getting in pipes and stuff like that. But 93, I got my first show at Jahangir Art Gallery. And I said I had sculptures. And I started sort of racking my brain as to what I would call it. And because I was doing it out of scrap all along, and that, you know. So the thing is that because the first formative years have always been with scrap, there's so many people who still think I use only scrap, but I don't. I amalgamated a little, but now I use sheets, pipes, rods, any raw material which is readily available, and then I transform it into my, you know. So I don't use only scrap. Now I use a mixture of everything together.
Okay. So, and what is it that you enjoy the most about your profession, Arzan, if you have to
I,
say?
I think it's the non-patterned thing. You can do what you want. You have a
Yes.
tremendous. I go to the studio, of course. Generally speaking, I'm at the studio at 9. But now, of course, with the lockdown and because I'm relaxed, I go sometimes at 10, 10:30 and all that. But overall, the control that you have over your time
Yes.
is phenomenal. You can take off any time you want because it's you who are doing and you who are sort of guiding everything. If everything's under control and your commission work reaches everyone on time, everything is in order, then you can do what you want within that framework. And of course, like I said, it's the more tougher the sculpture in terms of balances, in terms of suspension, sometimes in terms of engineering, the more enjoyable it is for me because then there is an extra bit of input from my side to make it actually stand in such a way that a viewer sees it not only sitting on a pedestal, but he wonders how the hell is it standing, you know?
Yes.
So that's to the sculpture, and it gives me tremendous satisfaction when I see that a sculpture is 15 feet, let's say, which I've done. I'll show you that particularly 15 piece, but he stands on one toe, which is here. So it's like a stride. It's like one big stride, and he's going to office. So only the toe is on the pedestal. The rest of him is all hanging in the air. You know. So
Yes.
imagine I put him full on one pedestal, both the legs. It would have completely killed it for me. So it's this dynamism, this mechanics, and working out sculptures which look impossible to stand but are standing. That is also one of the things that I'm doing, you know.
And which personality trait of yours do you think has been the most useful for your profession?
I think the inquisitiveness, the curiousness, the want to keep on finding more, doing, and so it's like this. If you see the way I have evolved right from 82 till now,
Yes.
find the style is the same, but every time the material changes, the look changes, and all that. It's from the very raw, it's become more refined and all that.
Yes.
I think that inquisitiveness, that curiousness, and the want to keep on reinventing yourself. That is what I think drives me. That is what my audience likes as well. My buyers, my collectors, that's what they like. That if they buy a piece from me, if they bought something 20 years back, if they buy something today, it's going to look different. It's going to look as if the artist has evolved and not just doing the same thing because it worked at that time. You know?
Yeah. No, I think such an important point, inquisitiveness, and then the drive to keep reinventing yourself. I think this applies to so many professions and not only art. And what an important point you brought out. So, other than yoga and cycling and now unicycling, for downtime, if I have to ask you, what is it that you do?
I doodle a lot. I do my black and white doodles to relax. I'm in fact holding classes now, five
Right.
or six time where there are about 20 students in each one, and we sort of do all, and it's working out very well. So I do that. Sometimes I do a little bit of watercolor with my anything with sort of, I'm sorting out my photographs. I photograph a lot.
Yes.
Bank of photographs that I have, which I have to sort and all that. That's what I'm.
Okay, wonderful. So tell us a little bit about the filmmaking that you've just got into. Your first film, Decibels, which was shown at the Kala Ghoda Festival.
So this was again one of the things. Someone just called me, a gallery people called me. I'm having a filmmaking workshop tomorrow, and I just thought of you. Would you? So I jumped. This is what I mean. You know, if there is, you can actually go on to this. And then I went. I paired up with a team of others, and the topic given to me was noise pollution and noise pollution. So I decided on doing a humorous take on it because I love humor, and so I started writing a script. I completely did a storyboard with sketches of how I wanted the whole thing shot, right down to second details, you know.
Yes.
Then I went around and I found old Parsi stage actors who were willing to take part, some amateur actors who I knew. And then I put them together, shot this whole thing through Bombay, through the streets of Bombay, in Crawford Market, in the trains, at my studio. I converted into this mad scientist's den, and I a place to convert them my studio. So they already like that. And so I got that and actually sort of created this whole thing, and then we showed it in one of the festivals. And Kala Ghoda Festival became popular. So it was for 2 years over there, you know. So it was just a humorous take on the sound pollution in Bombay. You know?
Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, before we move on to our rapid fire round, I want to ask you what two tips would you like to leave with our listeners and viewers on health, well-being, and fitness?
So, I know they say, literally. So the main complaint is, oh, you get time to exercise, we don't get time to exercise. And I keep telling people, just walk half an hour a day. Just walk. If you're not doing anything, just walk half an hour a day. You've got no idea how much it will relax you. It sort of defines your day when you're walking, either music or without. I walk my music and so sometimes I'm listening to hard rock, sometimes I'm listening to low Sufi, whatever like at that time. And even walking without just walk from work to your home. I mean, if you're 10 stations away, walk to 2 stations. Literally like that. I know our streets are not very conducive for walking, but it is fun. It just sort of gets you. It's a known fact that exercise will lower your whatever bad thoughts, this and that, makes you happy. Sort of it
Yes.
creates happy. So I would say just get out and do something even if you're tired. In fact, I have told people if you're tired, it's the best thing to do because you're tired generally mentally after a day, not physically. That
Yes.
physical never sort of tapped upon. And if that is done a little, when people start doing that, it's going to be better. And I hope also Bombay grows in its parks and things like that, where people feel the urge to go out in the open. I mean, imagine I would never leave. I would take my work and sit there all day if there's something like that. So it's something like that should be there.
Yes.
And I feel they need to take the first step. Once they take the first step, once they love it, they'll keep on sort of going on with it.
Yes, yes. No, I think, and walking is so easily done. You do not need any equipment. It's the easiest form of cardio, I feel, and at any age you can do it. So it's something which you can be so consistent with. So yeah, a very good tip for all of us. So are we ready for the rapid fire round, Arzan? Okay. So I'm going to say 5 words. When I say a word, you have to tell me what word comes into your mind.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. Okay, so the first word is music.
Pink Floyd.
Ah. Exercise. Food.
Dandar. My yellow dal, the Parsi dish, yellow dal, rice, and fried prawns.
Oh, my mouth is watering. Okay. Art.
Picasso. I feel he's the one who broke the mold of how people looked and completely went crazy and made people realize what you can do with your imagination and not only copy what is in front of you. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And the last word is family.
together, that's what comes to mind. I think closer you are, better. It's like your life raft. Whatever you do throughout the day, in the night, once you get life raft, you feel that way.
Yes, yes, I know. Family. Family is being together. And over the lockdown, we've all realized that even more. I think it's like bonus time that we've got with our family. Arzan, I really enjoyed having you on the show and so many good takeaways from this talk. I hope the viewers and listeners found it as fun, interesting, and useful as I did. You can find this talk on YouTube channel, hashtag Zip2Fitness, on podcast, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Zip Talks, and on the Instagram page, Zip2Fitness. Thank you so much.